Hey everybody, it's me, Ban911, and I wanted to talk about something and how, as you can obviously read from the title, Forgeable Firefight and possibly Halo 5. Now, I've set up a little bit of a junk demonstration here to show you how you could implement this into a game, because I feel like taking out Firefight from Halo Reach was one of the worst things in my opinion, because when we got replaced with Spartan Ops, I felt like it was a nice feature, it was nice to have something different, but Firefight was it was kind of the same as VIP, Alpha Zombies, and everything. It was something there that a lot of people enjoyed, but, they said, well, it's not getting enough, so we should just take it out. When in reality, instead of taking out Firefight, we could have gone further, we could have gone bigger and better with it, and things could have been so much cooler, Because Firefight felt like, as the commendation systems in Reach there was a campaign commendation, a multiplayer commendations, and a Firefight commendations, because all of them had elements that were really unique. And you could spend a long period of time on either one and not really feel detached from any other segment of the game, which was fairly good in my opinion. That's why I liked Halo Reach a lot. So here we have a little bit of a rigged up model of just an example demonstration of how I believe you could implement forgeable firefights. And that is, it's really unique, but it's kind of simple. So to start off, let's start with the human spawns. Obviously, when you make a firefight match, you need to start off. So this trade zone is going to represent the human spawning. Obviously, you're going to set it into a region that needs to be defined. But not only that, you have over here your little ammo crates. Well, we need ammo, obviously. There was, in Halo Reach version of Firefight, there was 2 ammo crates that had unlimited ammo for your DMR, your battle rifle, or there was no battle rifle, and your assault rifle, and your pistol. So we need these to kind of keep things a little bit balanced and always have a supply of ammo. Otherwise, you're going to be running around without ammo fighting Covenant, which is not always a bad thing because that makes you adapt to Covenant weapons, but it's really kind of dependent on, you need at least 2 to 4 of these, and depending on the size of your map, it's obviously pretty obvious that you want to be able to get ammo as fast as you can. If I'm out of ammo because I've been blasting my assault rifle, I need more, and we gotta get some guns going. Sorry for that little pause. Anyway, so here's the next node. We're gonna represent this one as the Covenant spawning. Now, this one's a little weird and it's a little tricky, but here's how I think that this could best be implemented into the game to make it work. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to have a trade zone, or whatever the spawn would be, that would need to be placed behind an area of cover from the initial starting zone. So if we're just spawning in here, and as soon as everybody spawns, everybody's got sniper rifles and we can see where all the Covenant are spawning, well, we're going to be able to shoot them in like 3 seconds flat, and that's going to make the game go by really fast. So any trade zone needs to be placed behind some form of cover or protection. For example, maybe down here in this little ravine. I mean, that's another standard feature that would really kind of keep things a little fresh, and it prevents people from camping. It keeps the game much more fluid feeling, where you have to keep things moving. You can't just camp and just hope it wins. Because here's the other idea to kind of simulate this. This last trade zone is going to simulate the Covenant Runner, is what I'm calling it. So every firefight match, because I don't know really how to make this with just having Spartans be attacked, I figured Firefight could be adapted into a sensible type of assault variant, where you have Covenants that are trying to bomb your base over there. So while you're trying to defend this bridge and trying to stop the Covenant from blowing it up, this Covenant Runner spawn is basically going to be this variant is verified. This thing works. So what you would do is, while you're forging, after you've placed every piece and nothing is going to be moved, you place this piece down, and what happens is a little Covenant guy would spawn in, and he'd test out your map. And literally what a guy would do is, let me get the generate lighting. So I pretend I'm the Covenant, I would walk, I'm just some AI unit, and what my job is, as the AI, is to seek out the way I could attack your base while in Forge. So you're not sitting there and making off this perfect barricade. So say, for example, this turret is a wall and I can't pass it. I'm the AI, I'm sitting here running against the wall. Well, obviously I'm not going to verify that your firefight mode works, so this mode doesn't count, and until you fix it, you cannot actually print this game as a logical firefight mode. But let's say this is the map we're using, for example, and this is perfectly okay. I'm the Covenant Runner, I can run all the way over to your bomb site, plant the bomb, the game type is now verified, and you can save it and actually use it with your firefight game mode. It's kind of an interesting system, because then it actually allows you to make realistic forgeable firefight maps, because I know AIs are a little tricky in trying to get them to do what you want, But you could do a lot of things, like say I have this bridge here. You know, we have this advanced feature that not really is used that much for a lot of people who just do some random forging. Well, if you want to get the covenant pathing right, and say you're just some random guy and you never really built the thing before, you never tinkered with forge, well, if I'm gonna like make the covenant spawn right here, obviously it's gonna be able to run in a straight path down to the palm site. But say you have all these curves and angles and twists, almost like a little maze. What you could do is you could take these little bridge functions and make this is covenant checkpoint 1. Once the covenant hits here, they're going to need to go to covenant checkpoint 2, which would be like this Jersey Shore, or Jersey barrier, I just call it Jersey Shore, this Jersey barrier. And once it hits that checkpoint 2, then the rest of the pathway to the bomb site is a perfect clear pathway, and the covenant need to go and attack there. It's an interesting system, and the mechanics could be done, and this is something I really hope for in Halo 5, because taking in this aspect and then making community submitted firefight maps would make the game amazing, because not only could you do that, with Halo 5 and the directions they can go, they can now make Covenant enemy forces, they can make Brute enemy forces, Grunts, Jackals, they can make Promethean enemies. Like, all this stuff is very amazing. You could have boss waves, you could have vehicles, you could have Banshees spawning in the sky and coming to attack you. All this stuff is very possible, and I think if it was taken a step further, this game would last so much longer, because people love to make this stuff. And not only that, sometimes people like to play the custom games versions, and custom game versions will always have superiority over multiplayer. That's something that people don't realize. Custom games will always be more superior, but here's the thing. Custom games breed a lot of bad variants, but the few that stand out and shine should be the ones that go to multiplayer. And that's what gets people more interested. If you're not updating Halo 5 every single week with like a new firefight map or a new firefight mode, people are going to lose interest. If you're doing it every single week, people will be on this game for a long period of time. And not only that, with multiplayer maps, with maybe some Spartan ops, if that is implemented for the next gen consoles. I mean, we have the Xbox 360 now, and the Xbox One coming out. I think that if we took things and we moved it even further, we don't need to update the graphics, goddammit. That's something I always say. We don't need to worry about graphics. The graphics are already beautiful. They've been beautiful since Halo 3. And if you disagree with me, go to Halo 3 and then go to Halo Reach. You cannot tell me that Halo Reach and 3 were almost... They're both beautiful in their own sense of Halo 3 was nice and shiny and vibrant, you felt energetic. Halo Reach was detailed, it was sculpted from, you know, this hardcore rock. Halo 4, I mean, it's a combination of both elements, but we don't need to go any further. So instead of going further with graphics or maybe some engine stuff, we can take the freaking gameplays and the variants and the firefight and Spartan ops and make them even more in depth. So let me know what you think about this commentary, this little bit of a demonstration video. I know there wasn't much going on in the actual video, but I do appreciate you guys listening. Share this around, leave a like, and, you know, talk to you guys later. Hopefully one day we'll get back on Halo. That's what I'm really hoping. I can't wait for the day that I quit Call of Duty to go back to Halo, man. See you guys later.